Hey, Alfredo. Thank you for making time for us. And I teach class on conservation and conservation conflicts. And I believe there are some big conflicts in this area, especially with a minority group in the country, the San people. And you're a representative of that particular ethical group. And can I please ask you to introduce yourself and maybe say something what, in your opinion, is going on?
Yeah, right. My name is Alfino van die Krasse. That's the name I'm famous with in the music and in my community. But my name is Alfred Krasetsumo. So I'm a young guy growing up here, and indeed they're seen as the minority here, and in particular, and I come from Dekar, that is the narrow San are dominant in that area, in this area. So there is indeed conflict of conservation because there is a lot of industrialization going on, a lot of constructions coming up, modern things coming up, pollution, and the San people also are contributing some because nowadays we're living in the global system. Therefore, we have no choice but to be part of the system, and we find ourselves also contributing towards polluting or bringing harm to the climate.
And but historically, what happened to the San people?
Historically, what I think and what I've gathered or what I've come to know of when I was growing up, what I've observed is this: we're very, very conservative people. Our way of life was based in the bush, and by then there was not a lot of foreign way of life, like foreign culture or different culture from our cultures, because our hunting systems were different. They were accommodating, they were sustainable, and they were not harming the ecosystem. And we didn't have a lot of man-made stuff that contributes to making the global or the climate becoming hotter or even colder or even imbalanced, because we had times or seasons of doing certain things or consuming certain things. Even the food from the bush, there were times that we would eat certain foods at certain periods of times. And also the kind of animals that were hunted at winter or when there's a drought. And even when there is a lot of, when it's greener now, females or animals were not hunted that much, or even younger animals were not hunted that much, because we wanted to, our ancestors were really strict on how to carry out stuff. Even the culture, we were sensitive towards our culture. Things were not mixed, and that we had too much dominance on our culture. Therefore, we had room to practice it because we were free. That's why we were moving from place to place. And that is also part of conservation, because when you stay longer at a certain time, at a certain place, it means you're depleting or you're eating or you're causing overuse of the resources that are there.
Yeah, and this access to resources, how does that play out today? Has that changed from what it was 50, 60 years ago? Or is it still the same?
Oh, all I can say is it has changed very much, because now we live within fenced areas. We are not even free to gather, because if we have to go to gather, we are getting into another a farmer's place. Therefore, we have limited resources because we have limited areas to gather, and even the Boers or farmers, I would say, that are surrounding us, they are not allowing us as much to get into their farms because they think that we will steal their cattle or even poach because it's not allowed. You know, it's so sad in my heart not to practice my culture because of a certain law that prohibits me. But other cultures, other tribes, they are free to do that, their cultures. You know, the San people, they love meat. They love game meat. And that was their staple food. Fruits from the veld, we can't have them because we get them few and we don't save up for the next season. So even our nutrition systems are affected. We have a lot of underweight children here in Dekar, and that is also because I think and I believe we are not getting enough of the natural and organic food that we used to, because nowadays it's tin stuff, you know, it's something. Processed food is not healthy. So I think even the harvesting of wild fruits or wild veld nuts, we have few because those are like morama. We call it kui. It's like peanut butter. It's very healthy, very nutritious, and that's where we got our proteins from. And now we have limited nutrition indeed. So I think even pollution of the air, the mines, burning of the bush is bringing imbalance into our ecosystem.
And for the Sand peoples, according to what my knowledge is, that when one of the largest game reserves was created in combination with increase in farming, etc., etc., the Sand people were resettled by a very young government at the time, and they were resettled into certain villages like Kuki, Dekar, and a couple of others along the the western side of CKGR. Mm-hmm. And how did this actually play out for the Sand people, that the resettlement? Like, what are the conditions in these villages, and what is going on?
I think when people are resettled, their life is also affected because now they are going to be exposed to a new environment. They have to readapt, find ways to live a different life. Because if you are taken out of your original place, you are displaced. Because the other environment is going to demand you to live a certain way. You know, when the Sand people were staying in the bush and they were practicing their culture freely, they were not bothered by a lot of things. Education, yes, is very important nowadays, but could it been better if we had been asked how we would want to have our life and education at the same time, to have access to it? Yes, right now we have also water problem because we are relocated also. So if you are put in a settlement, there's always going to be certain rules or governing things that will allow you to do things like this or things like that. Nowadays people drink a lot because now we are staying in the same place and alcohol is being sold here, and at the same time the waste itself also, it's not even managed properly. Because if you're staying in the same place, you're accumulating waste from the things you're purchasing. So also that is a problem, because even the families are now broken because they drink a lot. They don't have time to groom young people. Even when younger girls because we have a ritual at a certain time that the younger girls, when they get their first menstruation, there's to be a ritual. And that is not common nowadays because most of the time the older people, they now spend time drinking. They spend time, helping at different homes because now we are scattered. There's division in the families because we stay differently. We're not staying together as a unit. You see.
No, it's, that's hard to hear. And how's the work situation?
The work situation here is like we have a high rate of unemployment. The youth, you talk of young adults who are like about 40, they are not working. And also the other thing is most of the population in our communities, the education rate or literacy rate is very low because young people drop out of school, and that also affects our future. And most of the time the San people, they're dependent on the government schemes like Ipelere. They work at the farmers who don't even pay them that much, and they mistreat them. But they have no choice but to just work because they have to get money
to buy the new stuff.
The new stuff. So, and also at the same time, the worst part is that you would find the same farmer having a shop where he sells some stuff, and these guys, they have like a book where they like write off some stuff to get. If they want a sugar, they'll dry down, and that money is going to be deducted from their wages or salaries. So the economy here is very challenging because even the circulation of money is not that much because we don't have a lot of people who are working. So even the organizations that are around, that they have died because of corruption, you see. So things like that were made to boost or change people's lives, when they are destroyed or when they are mismanaged, it becomes a problem to the people.
Challenging conditions is a good pointer here. For the next 50 years to come, what would you change? Or what, what is the perspective of your people? It's like for the next generation. I mean, life has been tough for the last 60 odd years, and but if you would change something, what would you? Where do you see a way out of it?
Very challenging, but I would give it a try. To change people is a process. It takes time, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work and a lot of commitment and a lot of support. The San people in particular, if they can realize themselves, their purpose, they will triumph. We would have a lot of young people who are innovative, who are looking forward to life with a positive mind. The mindset of the people is the cause of a lot of problems. Because people, if they don't see the world that has now become, they would still struggle in their minds. Because nowadays things have changed. So that doesn't really mean that we have to live exactly the way we used to. We have to adapt, but at the same time, not losing ourselves. So for us to be part of the world, it's going to need a whole lot of San people themselves. to come to their senses, to realize that we need to protect our culture. We need to live our cultures the way we were, even if it's affected somehow. Yes, there has been a lot of damage, because right now we are using the Tswana system, so therefore we have forgotten ourselves. So if we take advantage of things that are already there, like the education, yes, it's good for us. We never had a system of education of such kind, but it's something that is good. We have to take part of it. We have to wake up, stand up and do things, and be part of the community work to change for a better life. And when there are things like, where like politics, we have to get in and be part, and so we can have a voice to speak for our people in numbers. We have to learn.
It's something, culture, I've had with students, I've had big discussions about the preservation of culture. Every single region and ethical group has their culture. And how do you think, where is the point, how can one balance preserving culture with the adaptation you mentioned to today's system, essentially, with all its good points and with all its flaws? But the reality is that adaptation needs to happen, but culture needs to be preserved in the same time. And languages, not just culture and things of like doing something, but your language is one of the most, I'm not really sure what the correct word is here, but threatened languages in the world or something like this. So it's like, how does one preserve these things over time? And not just language, also what the Sand people are known for, skills and things like this. How do you see that? And where's the importance of this? And how can one make that happen?
It's very difficult to preserve culture as it is dynamic. For example, we used to hunt, but nowadays the law has caused us not to practice our culture. And obviously it's going to need a lot of rallies, a lot of protests, a lot of work, and that is also difficult indeed. But at the same time, as an individual, as a group of people, if we are united into protecting the culture, and if we are sensitive to protecting it, we will try. But it's going to be difficult because there are always new ways or new cultures because of a new challenge. But we have to live life. Also, there are things like we can use the new technology to preserve culture by having to record stories for young people to listen to in the coming years. Write books about the Sand people. If the Sand themselves are at the forefront of preserving this culture, we'd have writers, historians, who write down the oral history, because there's a lot even here. And also, if we had we have a museum in Dekar, and that is also one thing I am grateful for, because we have a museum where there are certain other cultures, instruments, musical instruments, the write-ups about the Sand people, even about Dekar itself, how it became, even the organizations that were there, and how things happened. And also, if we have, the Botswana government also to respect and recognize the Sand people as the indigenous people, to respect them and their rights and their cultures as the indigenous people. I think that will also make things easier for us, because even right now they are mining, and that is also we need to have a say because we are custodians of the earth. We don't want the environment to be polluted, because once the environment is affected, because also our cultures are affected, because food, the wild food that we get from there, it's going to be affected. So our cultures are affected. So preserving culture, I must say, it's difficult. I admit it's difficult. It's a very challenging thing. But if the cultures or people who are like even the lawmakers would be sensitive towards other people's culture, even if it's a particular group, yes, of course I know that when many say yes, it has to be. But what if even if the few say no? Wouldn't that be respected?
Yeah, you get me thinking here. One more question. I was like, so what do you do?
I do music, and I want to be full time, because right now I'm volunteering, and I'm not really doing the music the way I want to, because I also have some limitations and challenges, because I don't have the resources, like the instruments to do the work and record my music at my own time, at my own place, at my own pace. Because right now I'm doing music at the studios. I go to the studio, pay money to record my music, and I dream to be a music star, because I see there's potential, because there's a lot of young talent here. So my plan is to have a record label also that would promote the culture of the San people, the music of the San people, through the younger people and even the older people, if they want to come and record a song or something like that. And I want to use that opportunity also to show the world that even the San people, that they are capable, even if certain people or certain groups of people see them as a minority. I don't see us as minority. I see us as the San people who are capable, who are human beings like any other. So I don't believe that there is a minor and there's a major. We are all the same. So I'm also an advocate. I'm an activist for San people's culture. Rights, because there's a lot of discrimination, and younger people sometimes they are misinformed, so they don't understand that we are all the same, and they allow themselves to be discriminated by other cultures, by other tribes. Like the Hereros or the Bakalagadi, they think they're better than the San people. So there are times that I stand out and say, no, people, we are all the same. You see? And even if a San people person is getting judged or mistreated, I step up and say, no, man. Because most of the San people, some are ignorant of the law. So whenever I come across things like that, I step in. And I also like to collaborate with research. I've worked with people who do research, anthropologists. So it's one of the things that I also enjoy doing, because I learn a lot of stuff when I do research with other people, and I translate and I transcribe, because I used to work with this other American professor, Peter Radvers-Lee from Washington. So he's also a professor.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Some pretty strong statements, man.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for your time so far.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.